Hello, everybody. It's Evan Grant from SportsDayDFW.com and the Dallas Morning News, coming to you with a late night edition from my hotel room in downtown Seattle because I don't go out after the ball game. I come back to the hotel room and record these videos. Look at a screen, my hotel, my face reflecting off my little eyes, and I tell you stories about the Rangers. And as you can tell, probably not a whole lot of great stories to tell you right now. This team is 2-8 after a 6-2 loss to Seattle to start a West Coast road trip that will take them to Seattle and Oakland. It is the second worst start, or tied for the second worst start in club history. They once started 1-9 in 1987, but haven't started 2-8 since that time. It's a concerning record. I talked to Chris Woodward. I talked to Chris Young today about that. And both guys indicated that, yeah, they're concerned about the record and that they maybe have lost some momentum with the fans that they thought they had coming out of spring. But they didn't express a whole lot of concern about this team's abilities or their perspective on this team. They just feel like, and I'm just going to oversimplify it here, just feel like this team hasn't played up to its capabilities. Said as much. Addressed it with the team on Tuesday to start this road trip. Believe Chris Young's statement was that if we were at 2-7, and this was before the game, going into tonight, and we had played well, or to the best of our abilities, there would be panic. But the Rangers haven't played well. And it's been particularly apparent to me in the last two games. The game against the Los Angeles Angels on Sunday to close out their homestand, their first homestand, 1-5, was just a poor game all the way around. They gave up 16 free bases on walks, steals, hit batters, errors, wild pitches, pass balls. You just can't do that. And they were inefficient offensively late. It almost looked like the offense just kind of shut down late. All of this Chris Woodward addressed today, and I think that where the club stands on all of this is these are things that are fixable and can be addressed. And so let's go into a couple of them. And I want to say that after the game tonight, Tuesday, Chris Woodward said that this team had played more cleanly and just gotten beat by Seattle on Tuesday. But nevertheless, we've talked about poor defense. Adolis Garcia played a ball into a triple that he misread off the bat tonight. Talked about better execution by pitchers. Seattle hit 2 home runs on 0-2 counts. That just shouldn't happen. One of them was a slider off the plate by John Gray. It wasn't a great slider, but it was out of the strike zone. Credit to Eugenio Suarez for hitting that. Talked about addressing stolen bases with the team. Now that it appears that opponents have picked up something in what appears to be pitchers' slow movements to home plate that has allowed them to kind of run wild here for the last couple of days. There were no stolen base attempts against the Rangers in the first week of the season. Starting with the Angels series last Thursday, there have been 11 steal attempts, 9 successful against the Rangers. The indication from Chris Woodward is that pitchers have just been holding the ball too long in their delivery and not getting to the plate as quickly as needs to be. These are all things, again, that they feel are addressable, and that the Rangers were in position coming out of spring training, they thought, to capitalize on a good spring. And it just hasn't happened to this point. I want to talk about a couple of other quick things. when we talk about a lack of execution, I think that showed up in the bullpen, particularly uh, with the number of poor pitches. And when I say poor pitches, I'm talking about pitches in the heart of the strike zone. What MLB's StatCast system describes as the heart of the strike zone, Rangers relievers had put 231 pitches going into Tuesday in that area. Relievers had most in the big leagues had allowed 9 home runs had allowed 9 home runs on pitches there. Those are not pitcher's pitches. That's pitching to a hitter's strength, and it's just a lack of execution. You look at where the Rangers are ranked in those pitches over the heart of the plate by relievers compared to other clubs. It all stands out that you just can't win that way. As far as the stolen base thing goes, this again is something that has to be addressed. That pitchers have been told that the most important thing is to execute their pitches. But there's also a sliding scale, right? Once somebody's on base, and particularly in a close game, you've also got to make sure that you get your delivery to home plate quick enough to give the catcher a chance to throw somebody out. And the Rangers just haven't done that. Teams are now noticing and exploiting that, and you just can't have opponents running wild. The last thing is on the execution is just how pummeled the Rangers have been by the bottom of the order from the opponents. They went into tonight, having allowed the worst OPS in the league to the 7, 8, 9 hitters, and the worst OPS by far to the number 9 hitter overall. And their numbers didn't improve markedly on Tuesday. They allowed home runs to the number 7 and 8 hitters in the Seattle lineup. The bottom third of the order is a slash line of 400, 450, 649, 1.099. And it just looks like the Rangers have attempted to go after the big hitters in the lineup, and they've had some big hitters try and get out, and Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, Vladimir Guerrero over the first 10 days. But you can't let up. In this league, the number 7, 8, and 9 hitters will hurt you if you don't make quality pitches, and that's what the Rangers are finding out right now. So I asked Chris Woodward why he thought that this team had kind of taken a step back once the regular season started. They certainly appeared to be in a very good position at the end of spring training, and I know it's hard to judge anything off of spring training, particularly a 3-week period, but the Rangers had played pretty cleanly in spring training. I think the one thing that you would have taken away from spring training is to say, by and large, the way the Rangers were winning games late, their minor leaguers were better than most of the minor leaguers that they were facing, because that's what happens. In this spring, that's what happened more often than not, all the way through camp. But they're just not getting the job done right now. So, what do the Rangers do about it? Listen, right now all they can do is try and address it within the clubhouse. Maybe Marcus Semien and Corey Seager are trying to push a little bit too hard after signing huge contracts. Wouldn't be the first time we've seen that. Maybe this team is still trying to find its footing and its dynamic. And going through this kind of rough stretch to start the season, it may put a damper on the entire season, but it gives this club an opportunity to really bond pretty quickly here, to come together and say, okay, we've got to attack this. How do we do it? And what do we need to know? If they can do that, that would be awesome for them. If they can't, it's going to be another very, very long year. And speaking of all this, Let me end on one kind of positive stat for Ranger fans, and that is this. I think the Rangers feel that they've been unlucky a little bit, and that's not a cop out. Unlucky is a baseball term these days for poor results despite strong metrics. And the Rangers hit 4 balls. This is just an example. The Rangers hit 4 balls at 105 miles or higher on Tuesday night, had 1 single to show from those 4. They've ranked 11th in the big leagues in average exit velocity, but they rank 19th on batting average on balls in play, which suggests that they're not getting as many balls to just get through the infield, that they're not getting the kind of breaks that some teams get, and there is a real feeling that this team will get better because of it, that they will start to everything kind of evens out over the course of a major league season. And the Rangers feel like that the BABIP, batting average on balls and plays, will start to even out, and you'll see a more highly productive offense. The counter to all of that is that this team has not done a lot offensively after the 5th or 6th inning. They went into Tuesday night having scored just 5 runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, which was second worst behind New York. The Yankees had only scored 4 runs going into tonight from the 7th inning on. So that's something that definitely has to get better. It might be there's a lot of things it could be, and I don't know that I could run them all down. Among them, you could have a number of guys here that are pressing too hard, but you could also have guys who are looking at the scoreboard, seeing this team down, trying to be patient, maybe walk their way on base on some occasions, and by doing so, they're falling behind when pitchers on the opposing team can just attack with fastballs. Once they get ahead, the advantage clearly swings in the pitcher's direction. So this again is kind of the juggling act that the Rangers are trying to pull off here. Is you want to be aggressive, you want to be able to only swing at pitches aggressively that are in your hot zones. But once you're behind and once you start to run out of time, some things change. You've got to be hunting a little bit more, and it doesn't appear that the Rangers have done that. Because of it, they've put themselves in some bad hitting counts late in games, and it's turned the offense unproductive late in games. So that's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot going on with this team right now that probably isn't really good. But 2-8 starts, 2-8 stretches happen to just about everybody over the course of the year. That it's happened here out of the gate with a team that saw its payroll go up by some $50 million just from 2014 to 2014. I'm living in a different age of Rangers baseball. From 2021 to 2022. And by $580 million overall in terms of all commitments. So expectations were raised. The fact that the Rangers have not met those expectations has been disappointing to everybody around the team. You can feel that. It's palpable. And it's something this team is trying to deal with right now. I have not given you my most effective performance, and I apologize about that. I don't have any great stories to tell you about stuff I've lost in Seattle. But I wanted to bring you up to date on where this team is, and we'll be back next week and see if things have changed. So long, everybody.